Did you know where the word marathon comes from? If you like historical curiosities, don't forget to subscribe because we upload one every day. During the medical wars between the Greeks and the Persians, an Athenian soldier named Philippides was sent from the city of Marathon to Athens to bring the news of the Greek victory over the Persians. It is said that Philippides ran approximately 42 kilometers, the distance of a modern marathon, to carry the news. After delivering the message, he is believed to have exclaimed, "We have won," before collapsing and passing away due to exhaustion. Did you know where Christmas presents come from? In ancient Rome, during the first days of January, it was customary for people to exchange symbolic gifts to bring good luck and prosperity in the new year. These gifts, known as streni, were often laurel branches adorned with sweets or other small gifts. The word streni eventually derived into the Italian word Capodanno, meaning New Year. Did you know where the Napoleon complex comes from? Napoleon Bonaparte was relatively short in stature by the standards of the time. He is often described as medium-sized, standing approximately 1.57 meters tall. Despite this, the popular image of Napoleon as an imposing leader has endured over time, and the term Napoleon complex has been used to describe people of short stature who compensate for their height with an authoritarian or ambitious attitude. Did you know that some passengers crashed in the Andes had to resort to cannibalism? On October 13, 1972, Flight 571 was carrying 45 people, including players and friends of Uruguay's Old Christians Club rugby team, when it crashed in the Andes Mountains in Argentina. To survive, some of the passengers resorted to cannibalism, feeding on the bodies of those who had died in the crash. This extreme and controversial decision was made after food supplies ran low and the chances of being rescued diminished over time. Did you know that in the Netherlands, tulips became more expensive than a car? In the 19th century, the tulip fever in the Netherlands, known as tulipomania, reached its peak around 1637 before collapsing abruptly. The speculative tulip bubble is a fascinating historical phenomenon that illustrates how the prices of a commodity can be driven by collective psychology and how, eventually, excessive demand can lead to a rapid decline. During that time, the prices of tulip bulbs reached extraordinary levels, becoming more valuable than some properties and vehicles. Did you know that Cleopatra used to disguise herself as a servant? In ancient Egypt, during Cleopatra's reign, it is said that the queen had a curious way of blending into common society to understand the concerns of her people. It is told that she would dress up as a servant and roam the streets of Alexandria to mingle with the people, gather first-hand information, and assess public opinion. Did you know what curious plan was devised in World War II to distract German troops? In 1943, the British devised a plan to deceive German forces about the Allied invasion of Europe. They placed a corpse with false identity papers and fictitious invasion plans on the coast of Spain. The body carried information suggesting an Allied attack in southern Europe, thus distracting German forces from the impending invasion of Sicily. The operation was a success. Did you know how flour could eliminate a man? In 1737, a man was found dead under strange circumstances, and people believed it to be murder. However, during the investigation, authorities discovered that the individual had accidentally fallen into a pile of flour and was trapped until he suffocated. Did you know what the red telephone of the Cold War looked like? It was a direct line of communication established between the White House in the United States and the Kremlin in the Soviet Union. This direct telephone link was created to facilitate immediate communication between the leaders of the two nations and to avoid misunderstandings that could trigger a nuclear conflict. Curiously, this telephone was not red, but white. Did you know that Alexander the Great personally confronted Darius? In 331 BC, Alexander the Great led his famous charge at the Battle of Gaugamela against the Persian king Darius III. In an attempt to break the morale of the Persian army, Alexander personally pursued Darius across the battlefield, engaging him in combat. However, Darius fled, leaving behind his chariot and his empire. Did you know what was the worst volcanic eruption in history? It was that of the Indonesian volcano Tambora, located on the island of Sumbawa. Its crater released an energy equivalent to 1 million atomic bombs like the one in Hiroshima. Because of the eruption itself and famine, 90,000 people died and temperatures in the northern hemisphere dropped 5 degrees. Did you know how a king could have terrible regrets after a conquest? In the 3rd century BC, King Ashoka ruled the Maurya Empire in India. After the bloody conquest of Kalinga, Ashoka was left with deep remorse for the lives lost and converted to Buddhism. As a result, he embarked on a campaign to promote Buddhism and nonviolence. Ashoka's legacy is notable for his transformation from a military conqueror to a leader committed to peace and ethical governance. Did you know that Spartan slaves played a crucial role in the Spartan army? Although they were slaves and worked in agriculture and other tasks, helots were also used as trainers and sparring partners in the Spartan military education system. Young Spartans, known as the Paedotriboi, practiced their combat skills with the helots, allowing them to develop their abilities in war. Did you know what was the shortest reign in history? Luís Felipe ascended the Portuguese throne with the title of Luís III and suffered a fatal wound the same day that his father, Carlos I, was murdered. This tragic event took place on February 1, 1908. Surprisingly, Luís Felipe died just 20 minutes after his father, making his reign the most short-lived in recorded history. Did you know for what ingenious action ninjas use their shurikens? In addition to being a dangerous attack weapon, ninjas would sometimes place shurikens with distinctive marks at strategic points to leave messages or indicate safe routes. This versatility and tool usage is just one example of the creativity and cunning associated with the ninja legend. Did you know that terrible law was in force in England until the 20th century? Until the beginning of the 20th century, a law was in force in England that allowed husbands to beat their wives as long as it was not with a rod wider than the husband's thumb. Did you know that ninjas were true masters of disguise? Ninjas were known for their skill in the art of Nawanuke no Jutsu, which translates to the art of escaping from ropes. This not only referred to their ability to free themselves from physical restraints but also their skill in shedding any clothing that could identify them. In certain situations, ninjas could dress as peasants, merchants, or even women to blend in seamlessly in urban environments or infiltrate places without arousing suspicion. This ability to adopt different identities and contexts contributed to their reputation as masters of stealth and infiltration. Did you know that a shepherd destroyed the fourth wonder of antiquity? It was the Temple of Artemis, the goddess of the moon and the hunt, of Ephesus, located in Asia Minor. It is said that it was an incredible white marble building 130 meters long and supported by 120 ionic columns 20 meters high. It is said that the shepherd Erostratus, to become one of the most famous arsonists in history, burned down the temple to immortalize his name. Do you know about the incident of the Naked Emperor? During the reign of Emperor Leo VI the Wise, a group of nobles conspired to get rid of one of the most powerful imperial officials, Basil Lecapenus. These nobles accused Basil of planning a coup and organized a meeting with Emperor Leo VI to present their allegations. However, during the hearing, the clever Lecapenus stripped off his clothes and showed the emperor that he carried no hidden weapons. This incident led to the exoneration of Basil Lecapenus and the execution of the conspiring nobles. Did you know that blacksmiths had their own laws and courts? If you like historical curiosities, don't forget to subscribe because we upload one every day. In the Middle Ages, where blacksmith guilds held significant influence in society, blacksmiths had the unique privilege of having their own laws and regulations. These blacksmith communities were so well organized that they sometimes had their own courts and legal systems independent of the local government. This granted blacksmiths a special status and a significant degree of autonomy compared to other artisan groups. Did you know about the mysterious false door in the Pyramid of Giza? In the Grand Gallery of the pyramid, there is a granite door that appears to be an entrance, but it is actually blocked and doesn't lead anywhere. This false door has puzzled archaeologists and has given rise to numerous theories. Despite decades of research, the true function of this false door remains a mystery. Did you know that inside the Empire State Building are hidden huge water tanks that contribute to improve its stability? If you want to know 7 curiosities of the structure of this iconic building, stop by our channel to watch the video we have uploaded while modeling its structure in 3D. Did you know that unicorns were thought to be real? During the Middle Ages in Europe, there was a belief that they were real creatures. It was believed that they had healing powers and that their horns possessed magical properties. Aristocrats and monarchs even paid large sums of money for supposed unicorn horns, which were actually narwhal tusks, a type of whale. The Battle of Stalingrad, fought between 1942 and 1943, was a key engagement during World War II. Adolf Hitler sought to take the strategic city of Stalingrad, but the Soviet Red Army stubbornly resisted. The urban fighting was fierce, but a fascinating curiosity is that, due to the intense winter cold, Soviet soldiers used frozen Molotov cocktails. These devices, dropped and shattering in mid-air, created fireballs in the freezing weather, making enemy airstrikes difficult. This ingenious use of improvised tactics demonstrated the tenacity of the Soviet defenders. Did you know what was the curse of Tutankhamun? After the famous British Egyptologist Howard Carter discovered Tutankhamun's tomb in 1922, rumors began to circulate about a curse that supposedly would fall upon those who disturbed the pharaoh's rest. Following the tomb's opening, several members of Carter's excavation team and other individuals associated with the discovery suffered strange deaths or illnesses. Despite the lack of conclusive evidence, the curse of Tutankhamun persists as one of the most famous and mysterious anecdotes associated with the pyramids in ancient Egypt. Did you know that they tried to use cats as spies? During the Cold War, the United States Central Intelligence Agency, CIA, developed a secret program called Project Acoustic Kitty. This project aimed to train cats to be espionage agents. The idea was to implant listening devices in the cats and then release them near enemy targets to gather information. However, the project turned out to be a total failure. In the first test mission, the cat trained with expensive listening devices was run over by a taxi. The Battle of Gaugamela, which took place in 331 BC, was a crucial confrontation between Alexander the Great and the Persian king Darius III. This epic battle took place on the plain of Gaugamela, near the Tigris River in what is now Iraq. Alexander, in command of the Macedonian forces, used innovative tactics to overcome the massive Persian forces. In a bold move, Alexander shifted his troops to the Persian right flank, breaking their lines and creating chaos in the enemy ranks. Did you know how the pyramids of Egypt were built? One of the most popular theories is that the ancient Egyptians used a combination of ramps and human labor to transport and place the enormous stone blocks that make up the pyramids. However, there are still uncertainties about exactly how the ramps were constructed and how the largest stones were handled. Recently, an intriguing theory suggests that the ancient Egyptians may have used a clever system of water channels to transport the largest stones. According to this hypothesis, workers would have flooded the transport routes, creating a kind of waterway highway. Did you know that miners use their own language? If you like historical curiosities, don't forget to subscribe because we upload one every day. During the California gold rush in the mid-19th century, miners working in the gold mines often developed a coded language called mining jargon. This jargon was a mixture of terms in English, Spanish, Chinese, and other languages, used to communicate among themselves and keep the location of their gold discoveries secret.